Elanga in, Longstaff out, and Bruno has a new tattoo. Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Toon Tuesdays, your weekly roundup of Newcastle United news. The sun is shining, the River Tyne is behind me, and we are on a walk and talk video today. Before we get into what is loads of news today, so much transfer news, a little bit of extra with the players returning to pre-season as well. Before we get into it, be sure to drop a like if you are happy to see Elanga joining Newcastle United, and subscribe if you haven't already. I've been doing these weekly roundup videos for close to 10 years now, and I tell you what, this is one of the best ones to do as well, with a big new signing to talk about, or pending signing, pending arrival of Elanga, potentially today. So yes, if you're new and you haven't subscribed, please be sure to do so, and we will start off with exactly that. Newcastle's hopefully, as I say, not on the dotted line just yet, but imminent first signing of the window. And we'll start walking as well. So yes, I hope you guys are all doing good. As I say, it's been a frustrating start to the window so far. Eddie Howe wanted things done quickly, spoke about using the PSR deadline to our advantage, and things got a little bit tasty at the end of last week, and then just went quiet over the weekend. And there was just that kind of nagging worry that maybe it wasn't to be. But as of last night, breaking news, I think probably, or what seemed to be a bit of like a leak from Newcastle United in themselves, because it's not often you get the Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the Athletic, Sky Sports, all literally on the same minute pretty much, and Fabrizio Romano giving it the here we go, as I get attacked by spiders here, all at the exact same time, coming out with a release to say that this transfer was going ahead. And as per the reports today, Elanga, who had been doing a little bit of pre-season warm-up fitness training out in Portugal, when he wasn't, doing TikToks with Asula, obviously, who has returned to pre-season with Newcastle. It's thought that Elanga will be in Newcastle potentially this afternoon at the time of recording, in the hope to have completed his medical in the next 48 hours and become a Newcastle United player. We've talked about it a fair bit all this summer, the January, the last summer, so I'm not going to start railing off how many assists he's got, but what we do know, he's a good player. What we do know is he's a player that Eddie Howe has been, as I say, chasing for windows gone by, and that it's a position that Newcastle have been wanting to strengthen for ages. Look, Jacob Murphy had the season of his life last season. It's very easy to forget that, and there is a lot of excitement around this kind of AAA, which I quite like. Anthony Elanga, Anthony Gordon, Alexander Isak, AAA. But let's not forget that it was actually Barnes, to be honest, who really helped us at the end of last season. Let's not forget that it was Jacob Murphy who actually put up more goal contributions than Anthony Elanga did last season. But to have the depth, to have the options, and to have Elanga, who also plays alongside Isak at international level as well, and you think how many assists he generated for I'll tell you what, Chris Wood did a banging job last season. Imagine what Elanga can do if he's doing the same for a player like Alexander Isak. So yes, a lot of excitement around that, right midfield position, and we are going to talk about a few more: striker, goalie, centre back in this video, centre midfield. As exciting as it is to see Elanga coming in, what people didn't expect was quite literally moments later for there to be another breaking news story that Sean Longstaff is heading out of Newcastle. And I will keep looking down here, because despite the fact that I'm walking along, I did bring a few little notes as well, just to keep an eye on. So yeah, breaking news last night that Sean Longstaff is set to leave the club. He's a player that has been spoken about a fair bit, and I would probably say is probably taken a little bit of stick as well over the last few years. What I would say is that some of that I would actually say is because of maybe frustration from the fans, because we've seen how good Longstaff can be, and maybe it's just due to confidence, maybe it's due to having that less, just walking over the ponds there, by the way, that's why I was walking along a wall. Maybe it's due to confidence, maybe it's due to lack of game time, but there was a point where, you know, maybe it was just the situation of Newcastle at the time. There was a point where it really felt like Sean Longstaff was kind of firing his way through. He grew that confidence under Rafa Benitez, really started to kick on, and arguably at one point was kind of the glue that Newcastle needed under Eddie Howe, even with the likes of Bruno or Joe Linton. Well, Joe Linton was already there, but wasn't good at the time. Bruno coming in, making some changes, new players coming in. It was like, oh, if we don't play Longstaff, we don't play well. So he definitely had his moments in this side, but you have to agree that since Tonali came in, those moments have very much shortened. And you could possibly argue the point that actually, even, you know, 17, 18-year-old Lewis Miley has probably overtaken Sean in the pecking order as well. And with see him get attacked by spiders again. And with 1 year left to go, is this a deal that works for all parties? It means that Newcastle will get a little bit of money for him. You know, 10 million, 10 plus 2 million for, you know, what is arguably like a Premier League proven midfielder isn't all that much. But the alternative is that we don't sell him and Sean Longstaff leaves on a free next season and then we'll get nothing. He's homegrown, so although it is 10 million, it's full profit for us. And is this his chance to kind of jump to a side who is playing Premier League football? Is Leeds, so it's actually not that far away from him. You can go there without too much like upheaval, and go and kick on in his career. 27 years old, you know, 3-4 year deal takes him into his early 30s. You know, this is probably his big chance to really have that game time that he's not going to get at Newcastle. He's probably achieved more than anyone, well, maybe even I expected to see in my lifetime. You know, Newcastle to go and win a bloody cup. He was part of that squad. He's been part of the squad that, you know, got Champions League last time round, scored in the Champions League against PSG at St James's Park. Like, you talk about stuff that's like wildest dreams of a young Newcastle player, Newcastle fan, Geordie lad. So he's achieved so much. What's the real kicker? And what's written in the article is that Sean Longstaff is actually, like, apparently we've had 2 previous bids from Leeds that Newcastle have just turned away, gone, nah, not interested. We know what Eddie Howe's like, we know we love Longstaff. I mean, downsides are he's one of our very few player-trained players. This is where everyone gets a little bit confused, because I saw somebody tweeting saying, well, Elanga, he's homegrown, he was trained at Manchester United, like, he counts. So, yes, we have loads of those players. We have Tino Livramento, we have Lewis Hall, Jacob Murphy. we've got loads of players who were trained in England, and you need 8 in total. 8 homegrown players. 4 of them can be trained anywhere as long as it was in England, but 4 of them have got to have been trained at your own club. And Longstaff's virtually the only one we have left after selling Anderson. Gillespie left when he was too young. I might be missing somebody else. We haven't got very many. So if I'm honest, I thought that Longstaff would probably just stay as much of anything for just those reasons that I've mentioned. Even if he's not getting a game, he would still get his spot in the Champions League squad because he's one of the few that we can actually put in. However, the reports are that Newcastle, despite turning down 2 previous bids, have accepted the new one on the basis that Sean Longstaff himself has asked to leave, or at least has said, you know what, maybe it is time to go. And this is the kicker, and that even Longstaff has said, you know, if you're not going to offer me a new deal, because I think Longstaff would take a new deal. I don't know, or at least that's the way I've always seen it. He's kind of happy to be here. He's happy to be a Newcastle fan. He's happy to be part of the squad. You know, maybe he's not. And you know what, in fairness, if he's not and he wants this move to go push his career on, then I'm absolutely all for it, to be honest, because as much as it's easy to rely on someone like Sean to just kind of be there and happy to go along with it, you know, if he's a competitive player and he wants to push himself in his career. So they reckon that Newcastle have actually basically come back on this third bid and have lowered their requirement on cost because Sean himself is looking to move on. So yeah, 1 in, 1 out by the sounds of things on that one. Sky Sports saying that Newcastle are not waiting around or already looking to strengthen other positions, one of which, as I say, Callum Wilson on his way out the door. Newcastle talking and looking to bring in another striker. So this is an interesting one. I thought this was quite funny, actually. Obviously, there's a lot of talk on Elanga, what numbers he's going to wear. People saying, you know, will Isak take number 9? Could Elanga take Isak's number 14? Elanga wore 21 at Nottingham Forest. So, and that's Tino Livramento. Will Tino take number 9? So Elanga can have 21. I mean, that would be fairly funny, to be honest. Maybe not. Maybe not so. I don't know whether Isak will take number 9. I'm 50-50 on it because he's been number 14. It's done him very well. He's never really worn number 9 in his club career, but does wear number 9 for Sweden. So we'll wait and see. But yes, in terms of Newcastle United's new number 9, shirt-wise, it could well be Isak, but that Newcastle still want to bring in that additional backup to him. Obviously, there's discussions on the fact that, well, Elanga can play anywhere across the front. Gordon can play anywhere across the front. Yeah, I get it. But we've been saying that for years, and Eddie Howe just doesn't do it. He just likes to have players who know where they want to stand, where they want to play. It's very rare that he really moves people around all that much, and it goes back to this book of formations that Eddie Howe has here. Well, Elanga, welcome to the club. Here's your binder of 300 different formations, A to Z, 1 to 300, formation 192, because the ball got thrown in by one of the crowd into the centre circle. Like, Eddie Howe just seems to have all of these different ideas, and people have spoken about it being, Lewis Hall needed more fitness before he could come in, Gordon needed more fitness. You know, I don't think it is. I think it's Eddie Howe's got about 7 million different tactics to learn, and that's why it's important that Elanga came in early, so we can teach him as much as we can before the start of the season. But I think it's also why quite often players have their set position. When Joe Willock comes in, he plays the left side of midfield. You know, he doesn't play on the right side. When Longstaff used to come in and take a place, it was very rare that others would move around. It was almost like a straight swap. And I think that's why we need a striker. I think that's why we need someone to learn the playbook behind Alexander Isak, so that it is an easy switch. As I've mentioned, I think Pedro would have been perfect for that. I think they're similar-ish players, and therefore the swap of one to the other wouldn't have been too hard. But the reports are Newcastle are still looking for someone. The reports are still Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Interestingly enough, Luke Edwards from the Telegraph reporting that it is a player Newcastle are interested in. It's a player that Eddie Howe's been looking at for a while. Whereas the Chronicle are saying that Newcastle were offered Dominic Calvert-Lewin and turned them down. So again, last night we had every single journalist agree on the fact that Elanga was coming in. As of last night, journalists basically, I'm gonna have a little sit down here, I think, because it's absolutely boiling. Journalists are not agreeing on what's happening with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So you can let me know your thoughts on him down below. I think generally speaking, there is not much hype around Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Actually, reports are that he got offered to Manchester United. They said no. It's, well, offered. He's on a free. Everton don't want him. The reports are that we don't want him either. So I'm undecided. I think I can get on board with Dominic Calvert-Lewin if we've signed Elanga, we've signed the centre-back, we potentially signed a new upcoming young centre midfielder. We've signed, and it's like, we need a striker. There's not many options out there. This guy's free, and we can get him on a contract that suits us. You know, if Newcastle release Dominic Calvert-Lewin, as long as they also release he's only getting, Keith Downey, can you put a report out saying, by the way, he's only getting paid if he plays, then I think Newcastle fans probably would be more on board with that. But yes, we were waiting to hear on the striker, but I still think it's a position that we should be strengthening. And as we're going full circle, a centre-back that has been heavily linked in the media, and I think a lot of Newcastle fans would be very keen on, is Scalvini. That's right, it was reported by the Times that Newcastle were in for the player. I think originally Mark Hardy at the Times reported on this one, and if I'm not mistaken, actually reported that Newcastle had put in a bid. But there was a little bit of, again, arguing between the... There was conflicting reports as to what had actually gone on there, but it would seem that he is a centre-back that Newcastle are extremely keen on. 21-year-old from Atalanta, a fee of around 30 to 35 million is being discussed, but, and himself has said that he would love to play in the Premier League, but Atalanta are not keen to let him go. Well, you know what it is? Nottingham Forest weren't keen to let Elanga go either. And when we put our first bid in for 45 million, it was said that they had no plans to let go of the player. Fast forward 2 weeks and they've agreed 52 million. And after they'd initially said 60 as well. So we have really met in the middle. If we said 45, they said 60. They've got a slight better of it than we did, but it was close in the end. Yeah, Scalvini obviously had that great run with Atalanta the previous season, won the Europa League. Last season had some injury issues, ACL injury, shoulder injury, missed a lot of the season, but it's reported as our next top target. So you look at that. We've discussed a few players there. Elanga hopefully coming in, some form of a striker. Trafford goalkeeper is still reckoned to be ongoing. Scalvini centre back. And the centre midfielder as well that's been popping up as well. As we've just discussed, Sean Longstaff going, I think the opportunity to bring in a new young centre midfielder would be pretty key. I like Miley. I think he's a good player. I'd love to see him have more football at Newcastle. But really, what we'd like to have is kind of 6 centre midfielders. If you loop Willock in, if Longstaff's going to go, does that mean Newcastle are actually in the market for another centre midfielder? Or could the likes of an Alfie Harrison actually make that step up into the first team? That would be a possible option as well. But it is Amir Richardson who is being... My hair's just going crazy now. I'm absolutely boiling. It is Amir Richardson from Fiorentina who is being discussed in the media. Born and raised in France, was at Reims for a year, got no football, went to Fiorentina and has showed what he can do. I think he's a player that would easily fit in. We've just discussed Eddie Howe, formations, players here, players there, how to do this. He would fit straight into that centre midfield. So yeah, some big news on the transfer front. Hoping to see Elanga arrive this afternoon, and that can be the first one on the board to get us fans excited about what could be a very good transfer window. But as I mentioned, there is stuff non-transfer related, so I appreciate we've been talking for a while now, so we'll rattle through a few of these extra things, including the fact that the players have arrived for pre-season this week. So yeah, that's right, the players were spotted arriving for pre-season, and Bruno was spotted with his new tattoo. Bruno has gone and got himself a Carabao Cup tattoo on his leg. You know, I feel like I'm too old to have favourite footballers now, but I think if I had to pick one, it would definitely be Bruno. Why is he just such a legend? Not just talking about how good he is at football. I think Eddie Howe's done it as well. It's one thing to have a manager join Newcastle United, but it's also just understanding what the fans want, what the players want. I mean, Dan Burn mentioned it in his recent podcast with Jake Humphries about the fact that he's like, Eddie Howe understands the fans. The fact Newcastle fans want, probably all football fans want it, that fast attacking team, and a team that just will battle till the death. They will fight and fight and fight. And that's how Eddie Howe trains his teams. Eddie Howe is bringing a team in that the Newcastle fans can really get behind and really root for. And I think Bruno is just like an epitome of it. He works so hard, runs more than any other footballer does in the Premier League this season and the season before, covered more miles than any other Premier League player. He's coming on the stage. He's saying, you know, we got here today as footballers, we leave as legends, and now he's getting the Carabao Cup tattooed on his Champions League. Plenty of room, by the way, for another cup or something else to get on that leg. So yes, very excited to see that. I mean, I've mentioned this before. There was loads of talk about Bruno leaving the club, £100 million release clause. The club basically reckoned they were going to sell Bruno. That was the game plan, you know. That then we ended up selling out Elliot Anderson. We ended up selling Yankuba Minter. You know, still starting to see Elliot Anderson leave, a local lad who did very well in the under-21s tournament. But you know, Bruno, I'm pretty glad we kept him. Like it was the reckon that was the plan. That's why Bruno signed his new deal. That's why Bruno got his new £100 million release clause. And they reckon that he was going to leave. And they reckon, well, let's go rumours that now, watching what I say, rumours were that teams offered £100 million for Bruno. And Bruno said no. I don't want to go. Because fair enough, you can offer the release clause, but if the player says no, you don't have to go. And they reckon Bruno said no. I want to stay here. I want to be here forever. I want to play for this club. And I hope it's true. You know, it could just be a lot of waffle, but yeah, absolutely love Bruno and what he's doing. And the players arrived to the training ground in their new training kits, which is exciting, and I do like the look of. But you know, not to spoil this video of fantastic news with a little negative, but we'll throw it in anyway. New training kits released. No sponsor on the front, still. You know, and I suppose it does relate, because we're talking about bringing players in, we're talking about competing in the Champions League. Other reports coming out that Newcastle, Chelsea getting a £50 million fine. They met Premier League PSR but didn't meet UEFA. They've got a £50 million fine off UEFA. Aston Villa sold the women's team to themselves. Still got a £20 million fine off UEFA. Newcastle United, reports on Newcastle United are being looked at by UEFA. Absolutely madness. Newcastle, who haven't signed a player, first team player for 3 transfer windows. The last player that we signed for a first team was Tonali, and he's been banned for over a year, played a full season, and then now we've bought a new player. That's how long it's been. And Newcastle are under investigation from UEFA, which is mental. And look, Newcastle want to play by the rules, fine. Don't buy the women's team. But get a blinking sponsor on the training kit. Why? We were talking about this the other day, and I think it's very possible to be the reason why. And it's the Man City stuff. You know, they reckon that Newcastle and Man City have got the same lawyers, or from the same lawyer firm or whatever. Are Newcastle waiting for it to go? Because Man City aren't going to get relegated. They'll get a fine, they'll get something. Man City, oh, they got away with it. Right, Newcastle, get on the phone to PAF. PAF are going to sponsor the training kit for $3 billion. I think that is possibly not far from the truth. Newcastle are waiting to find out what Man City are going to do, and then we will pounce. And if that's the case, I understand the logic there, but just get a 6-month deal. Get Adidas to just give us an extra few million for this range of training kits. Oh, well, Adidas are already on there, aren't they? So that would be pointless. I don't know. You can't. The Stack, I was going to get a sponsor from your own sponsor. Someone will do it. There'll be somebody out there, you know, who will put a logo on the front of a training top. You know, here it is. As long as we're selling them, we'll charge you for them. What about a 1-month rolling deal? Like, it's been ages now, and we haven't done anything. So there's a frustration there, and you know, we're trying to be so careful on money spends, transfers. Maybe we're learning our lesson. Maybe Longstaff is like a first step in what we should have been doing for ages, which is player trading. Like, I was thinking about this the other night. It's easy to have a go at Chelsea because they're doing this, they're doing that, they're spending money. It's ridiculous. But you know what they do? They player trade all the time, and if you do it well, you can be ridiculous. Because effectively, if we buy Elanga for 50 million on a 5-year deal, we only have to pay, technically through PSR, the way the books work, 10 million a year. So we can split it out. Right, Elanga's here 5 years, we'll pay it off over 5 years. Sales, come through as a lump sum. So technically speaking, selling Longstaff for that 10 million can then kind of like equate, we can spend 5 times that as long as we then pay that off over the 5 years. Or you could say that that is now paid off. Elanga has been paid off by Sean Longstaff for the first year, and then we sell somebody else, and then that pays it off. So when Chelsea literally buy and sell players every season, they're just offsetting. Eventually, in theory, you would have to pay it all at the end. But if you never stop doing it, you'll never have to pay it. Buy someone for 100 million, sell someone for 20. Right, well, you've paid them off. That 100 million signing, in 2 years, sell them for 60. So you've got your money out of them for the 2 years, you've sold them for 60, you've got your money back, you put it back into another player, buy somebody for 100 million again, then you sell somebody. Like, they are just ridiculous. Like, the players they're buying, they're selling, they've got too many players. But they're spinning it around, they're spinning like 7 plates. We haven't done that, we really haven't done it. Daniel spoke about it loads. Don't get too attached to players because we'll probably have to let a few go. Never did it, we've never done it. And that's why we rely on commercial deals, and we're not doing them either. So yeah, there's some lessons to be learned there. Hopefully Newcastle will learn the lessons, and this is the summer to enjoy it, to bring players in, to improve the squad, and then maybe we will see some players go. Longstaff go, Target go, Willock maybe go. Wilson's wages are off the books. So let's hope, Langa's in this afternoon, spotted at the training ground, getting his medical, and we can continue to enjoy it. But as I say, it does not sound like Newcastle are stopping there, and that it could well be a very exciting week, a very exciting month, a very exciting summer window as we approach a big season. Bruno's got that League Cup tattooed on his leg. It'd be pretty cool to get another one. Or, as I say, really try and compete in the Champions League this time around, because we had a tough group last time round. We did compete, but to make it through that kind of first round group stage, beating the teams that are in our pot, beating a few teams above our pot, trying to pull out another PSG banger, and Aston Villa got through in that first 8 slot. Even the slot below that to get into the playoffs, to try and push ourselves is what we want. We don't want to be out this time. There's no Europa League net, by the way. We have not been watching it for last year, because I barely watched it last year either when we weren't in it. There's no Europa League slot. It is Champions League, and we want to try and do well in it. So there you go. That's the longest video I've done in a while. So if you have sat for half an hour and you've not subscribed, hit the button. Do me a favour. This is Toon Tuesdays. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hopefully every Toon Tuesdays can be a new player signing, because that'll be pretty cool. Thoughts and comments on everything down below. Enjoy your sun this afternoon, this evening. It's meant to be a hot week in Newcastle this week, all the way through to the weekend. So enjoy it. Thanks for watching, guys. As I say, drop a like if you are happy to see Elanga joining Newcastle. And I'll catch you later.